I'm Ben Glaetzer from Glaetzer Wines, Barossa Valley, South Australia. And South Australia is basically right down the bottom end of Australia. If you cut Australia in half, we're right down on the Gulf, as we call it. Both father and uncle are winemakers. My older brother is a winemaker as well. We've had the tradition, we've also had the interest, and it's just something that I guess when you're immersed in it and you grow up in it, you don't really realise what you've got. So I always had aspirations to become a doctor, a paediatric surgeon, basically. But this fork in the road where I was enrolled in medicine and also was thinking about doing winemaking, and I just, in one split second, I was walking through the winery and I still remember the smell of the barrel shed when I walked through and said, yeah, I want to be a winemaker. So I dropped out of medicine and followed the winemaking path. There are 16 or 17 different sub-regions within the Barossa Valley. All of my all of my grapes come from an area called Ebenezer, which is very much at the northern end of the Barossa Valley. What I'm trying to highlight with the whole range from Wallace, Bishop, Godolphin and Amon-Ra is that sub-regionality is hugely important in that all of those wines come off exactly the same vineyard, but different soil types within the vineyard. It's pretty easy for me to turn these wines into these big monsters and what we call interesting liquids that you'd look at and say, well, that's pretty good, but at the end of the day, I make wine to drink with food and enjoy. So my focus is very much on harnessing that concentration of fruit and the quality of fruit and turning it into wines that are savoury, structured, and I guess complementary to all sorts of food styles. The first wine we have in the Glaetzer range is a wine that we call Wallace, which is a blend of Shiraz and Grenache. The reason I blend the two together is that Grenache has this lovely confectionery spice. It's got a bit of lift and it's quite jumpy, it's quite juicy, it's quite fruity, so it provides this sort of viscosity in the palate. So it's made, as I said, to be quite lifted, quite what I call animated. It jumps out of the glass. In terms of palate structure, I want it to be tight but also quite generous. The second wine we have in the Glaetzer range is a wine that we've called Bishop, which is named after my mother's maiden name. In terms of fruit profile, it's more on that sort of black stone fruits, like the dark plum, cherry sort of style. In terms of palate structure, I want it to be quite soft and round, but also quite serious in terms of tannin. And really what I'm looking at right across the board is what I call savoury tannin. So we're looking more for that, the food-friendly sort of style. And Bishop, for us, is very much one of those wines.
So the next one we've got here is Annaperenna, but it's a blend that has been particularly I guess bastardised is a good term for it, because there's a lot of very cheap, generic southeastern Australian Shiraz Cabernet out there, which quite often is sweet and has little things on the label, animals and things. And what I wanted to do was have use some of our best Shiraz and use some of our fantastic Cabernet, and create, my interpretation of Ebenezer Shiraz Cabernet, which is, it is an amazing blend, and the Cabernet provides a sort of nice sort of herbal focus to the Shiraz, and provides a bit of tightness to the Shiraz as well, and just gives that element of spice on the nose. And it fits well with the doing sort of a parallel between Amon-Ra and Annaperenna. It really is a uniquely different style, and that Cabernet just provides that little edge to it, which I quite like. It's certainly my favourite wine, I guess, in the portfolio for making and also for drinking.
The final wine in our portfolio is a wine called Amon-Ra, which is our top Shiraz. It's about a wine that is quite bright. I mean, you can sort of tell the colour is quite rich, but in terms of flavour and profile, it's quite light. When I say light, I mean it's not one of those heavy, over-the-top jammy styles. It's made to be, again, this sort of animated expression. It's vibrant. It's got some pure fruit characteristic, but once again, the tannin structure is probably what's most critical, and that is the tannin structure is made to be very savoury, and it complements food. That's pretty much it. I mean, Amon-Ra for me is my expression of what I perceive to be the best of the Barossa.